She did it over eggs. Fork halfway to her mouth, eyes on her phone, a white, hum. That wasn't for me. I asked if we were still good for Friday. Small concert downtown. Tickets I'd bought 3 weeks back. She blinked slow, set the fork down, and smiled like a teacher correcting a child. Don't box me in, Mark. I'm tired lately. Friday is a box now. It's pressure. You don't read the room. There it was. Not a fight. A diagnosis. She rose, kissed the air near my cheek, and left the plate in the sink for me to rinse. 10 minutes later, I watched her laugh at a text, thumb flying, shoulders loose in a way I hadn't seen near me in months. If I'd known where that tone was headed, I would have skipped the concert, the flowers, the dinners. I would have skipped the idea that patience fixes everything. We still went Friday. She didn't touch me. Front row sound, my hand on the rail, her looking past me like the stage was a window to somewhere better. On the drive back, she looked out at the highway shoulder. You're smothering, she offered. I bought you a hot dog and earplugs. Exactly. I didn't raise my voice. I just drove. When we pulled in, she ducked into the bathroom with her phone like it was oxygen. A door click. Another laugh I didn't recognize. It sounded like a stranger had moved into our house and kept my wife's face. The next morning, I made coffee and a plan. First rule, no begging for clarity. I asked once, "You good?" I slid the mug across. "Fine. You and I are off lately. I want to fix it. Tell me the rule you need." She sipped, squinted at the mug like the coffee had offended her. "Stop analyzing. It's not attractive." "Okay." Second rule. "How about you stop hovering? Men with their own life. That's attractive." "Got it." She took that as a win and left the cup in the sink. The water took it from there. I tested her rule by following it to the letter. That week, I stayed late at work twice. Met Nate for wings. Drove to the gym I used to ignore. She noticed the empty seat at dinner. "You didn't text," she remarked from the couch. "You said to stop hovering." I reminded her, grabbing my keys for the late run. She pretended to be bored, but her eyes tracked me. A look I'd seen when she picked table scraps from my plate. Territorial, not loving. At work, Denise, my manager, leaned on my office frame. "You switched your calendar around. Everything okay at home?" "Just taking your advice," I answered, scanning the schedule. "More focus here. Clear goals." She nodded at my screen. "Your numbers look sharp." I made them sharper. Home got cleaner without me announcing it. I started buying my own groceries, the boring staples, separate bags, and receipts. I left them visible on the counter like I was labeling shelves in my mind. If anyone asked, I would call it organization. No one asked. Lauren escalated in a quieter direction. Hugs became side taps. Kiss became forehead air. In bed, she turned into a plank, headphones in, volume up. When I touched her shoulder, she rolled to the edge and pulled the comforter with her. One night, I put a small box on the kitchen island. Spa gift card, dinner reservation. I cooked, roasted chicken, simple. She came in late, hair too neat for the weather, shirt that wasn't hers last season. She looked at the table like I had put a kid's diorama together. "Sweet," she said, flipping the box lid with a finger. "This is the lot. It's dinner and a massage." "It's you trying to buy a mood." "It's me trying." She laughed under her breath. "You always make it about effort." "I need space, Mark. Not homework." I took a breath, recentered. "Tonight's not homework. It's dinner." I slid the chair out for her. She stayed standing, arms crossed, a smile that wasn't kind. "You're so intense." "Chill." I pushed the chair back in. "Dinner's in the oven. Join me or not." She didn't. Around 9, I heard the front door. "Going to Sarah's," she called, already halfway out. "Take the leftovers," I called back. "They're good cold." She paused long enough to look irritated that I wasn't chasing her. "I'll pass." I watched the taillights fade. I ate alone. The chicken was fine. The silence was better. 2 days later, she came in with soft eyes and a paper bag. "I grabbed you your favorite salad," she said, almost shy. "You've been, I don't know, patient." It was the first warm thing in weeks. I met her halfway, kissed her temple. She didn't flinch. "Let's reset," she suggested, dropping the bag in my hands. "No pressure. Tonight movie, no talking about US." "Deal." "Deal," I said. I did notice her glance toward the hall table where I kept my keys and wallet. Habit, maybe. Old me wouldn't have cataloged it. New me did and filed it. We watched a movie. She curled into me like we had found our way back. Midway through, her phone lit the room. She went still, then turned the screen face down with a quick flip. I didn't ask. I pressed play. Next morning, the salad bag still on the counter, she reverted. Cold shoulders, quick exits, the works. The reset had a shelf life of one night. I adjusted my calendar again. Overtime. Gym. Poker with Nate and Carlos in Carlos's garage. Overhead light buzzing. Cards sticking slightly to the table from condensation rings. Thought you were married. Carlos grinned, dealing. I am, I told him, settling in. She needs space. I'm giving it wholesale. And you? Nate tilted his beer at me. I'm using it. The following weekend, her sister Emily texted me. Emily never texted first. She's younger by 2 years, a school counselor, straight shooter. Her message, can we talk? Not phone. Coffee. Today. I stared at the screen. Then, sure. 2 p.m., corner cup. She arrived with a paperback-sized envelope in her tote, hands tight on the strap. Emily sat, didn't touch her latte. You look tired, she said, pausing like that was the warm-up before a hard conversation. How are you and Lauren? We're in a rough patch, I allowed. Her eyes watered without permission. She pressed her lips together, reached into the tote, hesitated, pulled out the envelope anyway. She's going to hate me, Emily said. But I can't watch this anymore. I sat still. Keep going. She slid the envelope across. Photos. Screenshots. Messages she sent me because she wanted someone to, I don't know, validate her. I tried to talk her down. She didn't listen. I opened it. Not in a movie way, just a practical way. Printed screenshots. Times, places, words. Pictures she had sent Emily to brag about dinners and late drives that weren't with me. Groceries in a car that wasn't mine. Bar patio angles that matched nights she'd been with Sarah. The air didn't change temperature. My life just reorganized itself without my permission. I kept my voice level. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because you're a good man, and I can't watch her use you, she said, steady now. And because if you don't know, she'll rewrite the story. She's already practicing. Understood. She looked at my face like she was searching for anger and not finding it. Say something. I'm thinking logistics, I said. You want coffee? She shook her head, a short, disbelieving laugh. You're dangerous when you're calm. I'm clear when I'm calm. We talked 10 more minutes. Emily told me Lauren had started months ago, an old friend from the gym. The kind of friendly that made schedules flexible. Emily had argued with her. Lauren had called Emily judgmental. The messages in the envelope proved the rest. Times lined up with my empty dinners, my spa gift card in the trash, her late returns. I closed the envelope, slid it back toward her. Keep it, I told Emily. I have the pictures in my head, and your word is enough. You're not mad at me? No, I answered. You just made my next weeks a lot simpler. What are you going to do? End it without theater, I said. And I'll need a good lawyer. Know anyone? Emily did. She texted me a number. I thanked her and left a tip on the table big enough to pay for the table. Before we stood, she touched my arm. Mark, I'm sorry. You didn't do it, I reminded her. I picked the wrong time to be born into the same family. That's not a crime. I called the lawyer from the parking lot. He listened, asked 3 questions, gave me a list. Don't blow it up yet, he advised. Play normal while we file. Gather what you need. Then hand her the papers when you're ready. It'll be cleaner. Copy, I said. I can do normal. Most people can't. I'm not most people. Then come by my office this afternoon, he said. We'll get this started. That week, I added another rule to my life. No romance lab experiments. No more surprises she could toss back as pressure. I kept my schedule full and my expression neutral. Lauren noticed immediately. You're never home, she commented, toes on the coffee table, scrolling. You said you like men with their own lives. I replied, flipping through my mail. I'm leaning in. That was sarcasm. You delivered it like law. She rolled her eyes. You're exhausting. You have options, I told her, shrugging into my jacket. Pick one. At Nate's, a Sunday cookout, she stepped close in front of people for the first time in weeks, slipped a hand across my back like we'd never been tense. It was strategic. Her friend Kelly watched us from a camp chair with a clinical interest. Lauren's voice turned soft. Babe, grab me a drink, she asked, smile bright enough to tan. I handed her a bottle, leaned in, low voice just for her. We're not doing performances. She went still, smile fixed. Relax. I am relaxed. Offstage, I said and stepped away to talk to Nate about a fishing trip we both knew we'd never take. That was the first public boundary. No show affection on command. She clocked it. Her jaw tightened for half a second, then she laughed big at something Kelly hadn't said. 2 days later, she softened again. You've been different, she murmured, touching my wrist while I chopped vegetables. I might have been hard on you. I'm sorry. There it was, the first full illusion of change. It landed gentle. I let it sit on the counter between us with the onion peels. I appreciate the words, I told her. Let's see if the behavior follows. She blinked. You don't trust me? I trust patterns, I said. And my calendar. That night, she curled into me again. The phone didn't light up, at least not where I could see it. She slept early. I lay there, counting decisions. Midweek, I stopped by the lawyer's office. He showed me a stack of paper, walked me through lines without drama. Sign here, here, and here. We'll file by Friday. Don't change your routine. Don't tip your hand, he repeated. You want clean exits, not a scene. Understood. On the way out, my phone buzzed. Emily, you okay? She wrote. Better, I answered. Let's grab a sandwich tomorrow. We met at noon in a small deli. It wasn't a date. It felt like oxygen. She laughed at things that were actually funny. She didn't look at her phone. She asked about my job like she listened to the answers. When we parted, I felt the day had weighed again. We started meeting twice a week. She'd update me when Lauren told the family she was underappreciated. I'd update her when I bought another set of towels and moved my clothes to the guest room. Not a flounce, a reorg. She watched me do it once when she came by to pick up a book Lauren had left. Her eyes went to the empty dresser in the main room. You moved out in your own house, she said, surprised. Temporarily, I corrected. It's a mental reset. Fewer mixed signals. That's smart, she admitted, then smiled in a way that had nothing to do with being my sister-in-law. We did not name that smile. We just let it exist and didn't do anything reckless with it. Lauren noticed the guest room shift and tried a new tactic. Distance framed as self-care. Going to my parents this weekend, she announced over cereal. Have a good time, I replied, scrolling my calendar. You don't care, she tested. I care about peace, I said. She snorted. You're so dramatic. Peace is dramatic now. It is with you. The following Monday, she didn't come home until after midnight. Tuesday, not at all. Wednesday morning, she breezed in with a grocery bag like she'd run out for milk, humming. Where were you? I asked, voice neutral. Don't start, she fired back. You're not my parole officer. Correct, I said. I'm your husband. For the moment. She folded her arms. You're threatening me? I'm stating reality. She rolled her eyes, the same move as always. Minimize, mock, exit. But her bag hit the counter just a little harder than usual. She felt the ground tilt and didn't like it. Thursday morning, she dropped the line that snapped the rope. Listen, she said, blocking the kitchen doorway like a bouncer. I need time to figure out if you're worthy of me. I'm going to stay with my parents for a bit. I poured coffee, stirred, took a slow sip. It was a good cup. Take all the time you want, I replied. Don't rush clarity. She blinked at that, thrown by the lack of argument. She grabbed a suitcase and left in a whirl that suggested she wanted me to chase her. I finished my coffee, then texted Emily. Update, I wrote. She's moving in with her parents, to think. Emily's reply came fast. She's not going to their place tonight. I know, I texted back. How's your evening? Open, she wrote. Why? Dinner at my place, I answered. No talk about her. Just us. You sure? She sent. Very. I spent the afternoon picking up the finalized papers. The lawyer slid the envelope to me. You ready for this? He asked. I've been ready for weeks. Then hand them to her when you're calm. That sentence matters. I plan to be calm, I said. He nodded. You're a rare client. Back home, I cooked something simple that looked fancier than it was. I set the table the way Lauren used to criticize as too formal for a Tuesday. I ironed a shirt because I wanted to feel sharp at the edge of my own life. Emily arrived right on time. She stood in the doorway like she wasn't sure about this. Smells good, she said, stepping in. It's food, I deadpanned, and she smiled the smile again. We ate. We joked. We didn't use Lauren's name. Emily told me about a kid at her school who'd brought his pet turtle for show and tell and then refused to talk because the turtle was shy. I told her about Denise and the time she made the whole team stand up and write down their worst habit on a sticky note, and mine said, "Assuming patience equals progress." Emily laughed, then grew quiet, watching my face. "This feels better than it should," she admitted, "given everything. Maybe we're just overdue for honest company," I answered. She reached across the table and took my hand. No speech, no performance. Just warm human contact that didn't demand a cost. We stayed like that a beat too long and didn't apologize for it. We cleaned up together, moving around each other like we'd done it for years. She changed into one of my hoodies when she spilled water on her blouse. It hung on her and somehow fit. On the couch, she tucked her legs under her, head on my shoulder, the house quiet in a way I had missed. We didn't talk about Lauren or the papers on the hall table. We didn't need to. The decision was a separate room with the light already on. Morning came with light through the blinds and the soft sound of someone making breakfast. Emily beat me to the kitchen. She moved easily among the pans like she'd lived here. I leaned on the doorway, coffee in hand, content in a way I hadn't been in months. The front door opened. Lauren walked in like it was a stage entrance. "Didn't expect to see me this early, did you?" she called, heel clicks sharp. She spotted Emily at the stove and stopped like she'd hit glass. "Are you kidding me?" I took a sip. "Good morning." She pointed at Emily. "What is this?" "Breakfast," I said. "You hungry?" Her face moved through 3 expressions and landed on outrage. "You're unbelievable. You try to act innocent, and then you do this? In our house." Emily turned the burner off and faced her, calm. "Don't talk to him about innocence, Lauren. Not after all those messages." Lauren's head snapped to her. "You're lying." "No," Emily answered. "I handed him what you sent me. Your pictures. Your words." Lauren looked at me, backing into the familiar posture, indignant, superior. "You're going to take her word?" She's always been jealous of us. I reached for the envelope on the table, slid it open, and fanned out 3 pages. "These are time-stamped," I said. "They line up with your girls' nights and your parents' supposed visits. The patio lights behind you in this one. That's the place near the river we drove past once, and you called it tacky." She stared at the paper, then at Emily, then at me. The playbook she'd used for months, the deflection, the eye rolls, hit a wall and fell apart in a pile on the kitchen floor. "I can explain," she tried, voice smaller. "You already did," I said. "To your sister." Repeatedly. With details. Her eyes glossed. "Mark, please. You told me yesterday you needed time to decide if I'm worthy of you." I reminded her. "That was a gift." "A gift?" She choked out a laugh that wasn't funny. "It gave me a line," I replied. "I realized you're not worthy of me." Emily didn't move. She just stood as quiet support, not stepping in, not rescuing. Lauren's hands went out, pleading with the air. "We can fix this. I was lonely. You were distant. We both." "No," I cut in. "You were not lonely. You were busy. And I was distant because you asked me to stop hovering. I obeyed. You used the space to diversify." "That word," she snapped. "It's neutral," I answered. She tried one more angle. "Anger. You're no saint. Look at you, with my sister." Emily stepped forward. "Stop. I warned you. I told you this would blow up. You kept going." Lauren's face cracked. Tears finally landed. She looked at me, shifting to the last lever, the pity one. "Please don't end it. I'll do anything." I reached for the second envelope, the one from my lawyer. I set it gently on the table and slid it toward her. "End it." I echoed. "Good idea." Already in motion. She stared at the papers, then at me. "You filed." "Yesterday," I confirmed. "You blindsided me." "You asked for space," I said. "I respected it enough to make it permanent." She cried. I didn't comfort. She tried the apologies and the future promises that should have come months ago. I didn't bite. "You need to leave," I said, voice even. "Today. Take what's yours. Don't forget the small things. I'm changing the locks this afternoon." "You can't." "I can," I replied. "I'm not doing a scene. I'm doing a boundary." She looked at Emily as if there was a sisterly clause she could invoke. Emily didn't move. "I'll help you pack," Emily said finally, quiet. "It'll go faster." Lauren glared at her, then at me. "You two are disgusting." "No," I corrected. "We're done." She packed. Emily followed her down the hall, grabbed boxes from the garage. I stayed in the kitchen. The house sounded different with actual productivity. 2 hours later, the door closed behind Lauren and her suitcases. No last speech. Emily came back to the kitchen and leaned on the island. We breathed. For the first time in months, the air inside my ribs felt large enough to stand in. "How about we celebrate tonight?" she asked, a cautious smile breaking. "That's a good idea," I answered. "Let's do it." We spent the afternoon at the locksmith's. I changed the locks, changed the alarm code, changed the small routines that had quietly owned me. I texted Nate, "Cook out at my place this weekend. New rules." He replied with a thumbs up and nothing else. Which is exactly how men say proud of you, without writing it out. In the days that followed, Lauren tried a new tactic with the world, the story where I was cold and unfaithful. She called Kelly, called cousins, called anyone who would pick up. It held for a day. Then I showed the envelope to whoever looked at me with questions in their eyes. I didn't editorialize. I didn't gloat. I let the timestamps do the work. The story collapsed under its own weight. At work, Denise poked her head in again. "You look 10 pounds lighter," she observed. "I changed my diet," I deadpanned. "Whatever it is, keep it," she said, then paused. "You're a good one, Mark. Not many handle it clean." "I like clean," I answered. "Less mess later." Emily and I kept seeing each other. We moved slowly on purpose. We kept dinners simple. Tacos, pasta, grilled fish that I overcooked and she pretended was fine. She teased me about my coffee obsession. I teased her about her neat stack of school folders on my kitchen chair. We kept our talks off the landmines. We let attraction be obvious without making it a weapon. A month later, papers came through. The envelope this time was thin. I signed one last page at my lawyer's office and walked out lighter. Lauren didn't call. She didn't show up. Last I heard, she moved 2 hours away for a fresh start. I didn't send flowers. I didn't send hate. I sent nothing, which is a cleaner message than anything said into a phone. Word trickled back through mutuals that her big declarations about my supposed sins fell apart whenever anyone asked a second question. People aren't stupid. They can follow dates. As for me, I did what I said I would the day in the coffee shop. I ended it without theater and started my life like I'd been waiting in the lobby too long. I swapped my truck's tires, finally fixed the porch light, and turned the guest room back into a place for guests. Emily started leaving a toothbrush in my bathroom without ceremony. I didn't make it a moment. It became a fact. Nate and Carlos came by with ribs and lawn chairs. We sat in my driveway picking meat from bones and talking trash about a team none of us truly followed. Emily rolled her eyes at us from the porch, then brought out a bowl of salad we ignored until she scolded us. It felt like a household made of adults who knew what to do with words. One night, after a cheap dinner and an old movie, we stood in the kitchen doing dishes like we'd done a dozen times. I dried, she washed. In the bounce of that domestic rhythm, the thought landed. I wanted to make this official. I didn't do speeches. I never liked speeches. I just toweled my hands dry, opened the drawer where the envelopes had lived, and set something small on the counter, a simple ring. Not a stunt, a statement. She looked down, up, and then carefully around the room like she needed to confirm the world was as she left it. "Are you asking?" she said, voice steady. "I'm asking," I confirmed. Small ceremony. Close people. Real vows that mean what they say. She breathed out, a quiet, real sound. Yes. We didn't call anyone that night. We just stood there, forehead to forehead, the kitchen light over us, the house our size. And for the first time in a long time, nothing in my chest felt rented. People will say a lot of things about men who leave. They'll say we gave up or we should have tried harder. I tried. I bought the tickets, cooked the dinners, played the patient husband like it was a part that came with the mortgage. It wasn't weakness, it was faith. When it turned into a test I didn't agree to take, I stopped taking it. The last thing Lauren ever said to me that mattered was that line about me being worthy. It did me a favor. It taught me a better question. The question isn't, am I enough for someone who keeps changing the rules? The question is that person worthy of a life with me? I answer it faster now. A month after the ring, Emily and I stood under a small canopy in my backyard. Nate grilled. Denise made a toast that made me pretend to cough. Carlos cried into a napkin and denied it. We said clear words. We kept it small and honest. I didn't invite a past to haunt the lawn. People sometimes ask how I knew I was done. It wasn't the envelope. It wasn't the pictures or the late nights or the performances at cookouts. It was the morning she said she needed time to decide my value. In that sentence, she made a mistake. She thought she was the only one holding a scale. I had one too. I used it. And when I set my life back on it, it balanced.